I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your cattle market summary for the week ending September the 8th, where I'm recording here from the Bluegrass Stockyards in Lexington, Kentucky, getting all geared up for a big grand opening of this historic stockyard at a brand new facility out here off Interstate 75, and expecting a large crowd, big contingency of people that have done business with the Bluegrass Stockyards for generations and generations, and I tell you what, the facility here is outstanding. I've been to a lot of new sales before. I remember that whenever they built El Reno sale at OKC West there, I thought that was the fanciest sale I'd ever seen. Thought Joplin Regional Stockyards might have been the fanciest I'd ever seen. Been to some really fancy small sales in East Texas. Sioux Falls Regional Stockyards, awful nice, but undoubtedly this sale here in Lexington, the Bluegrass Stockyards, is the fanciest, the nicest sale barn that I've ever been to in my career, and I am a sale barn junkie, self-proclaimed sale barn junkie. I love them, but just from the lobby, like an old exchange building type feel here. They got offices here. They've got a Western store in here. They've got commodity offices. They've got a cafeteria in here. It's unbelievable the amount of parking, the amount of pen space all under roof that they've got here, and the people here are second to none. Everybody's just as friendly as they can be, just willing to help in any way. We got the DV auction set up, fine-tuned, and you can tune in here to the first sale Monday morning on dvauction.com and check the Bluegrass Stockyards Lexington location. Bluegrass Stockyards has been a customer of DV Auction, been broadcasting their sales for years and years and years, and just really, really good people, and the right kind of people. Here on the weekend, everybody's talking about what they're going to do, but they don't do anything until they've gone to church. And just a class set of people to do business with here, and I'll be talking more about that on the feeder flashes earlier in the week. But take a look at last week, your live cattle futures. Monday was a holiday, of course. Tuesday was down 72 cents. Wednesday fats were up 27. Thursday up $1.52, and Friday up $1.10, which was very significant. After that Thursday up $1.50, everybody just assumed that Friday would be down that much or more. But when your Friday board held and was up over $1 there, it forced packers to give steady money for fats, and because everybody was dug in, they was having a staring contest, and Friday's board up over $1 was the reason that we were able to hold the fat market, and that was very significant. And you know, the board hasn't really been direct in cash here of late, but it sure did on your cash fat cattle market on Friday. But October live cattle ended the week at 107.32. That was up $2.17 for the week, and we've got a little bit of positives here. If you look down the road on the next several traded months, they're progressively higher. That is always a big positive, and something that we can look forward to is a higher market. As you get into your next 2 or 3 traded contracts, they just get a little bit higher, all the way up to April, which is nearly $1.18. So we've lost a lot of ground here in the last several weeks, 3 months, but it's starting to look like we might turn this thing around. The reason the board was higher late in the week, talking to some guys, the only reason there is because it's been down hard lately, and it's about time for it to turn around. You know, your board goes up and it goes down, and it had been down hard enough, consistently enough for the last several weeks. It was just kind of time for it to turn around. Feeder cattle October contract, Monday holiday course, Tuesday down $1.05, but Wednesday up $1.20. Thursday up $2.45, and then remember Friday was important, up $2.27 to end the week with October at $148.42, up $4.87 for the week. So and still we've got a real narrow spread on all your traded months of CME feeder cattle, less than $5 for the next year. So all your contracts have gone up in accordance, and still keeping a tight spread there. At your fat cattle market, We had nothing to talk about all week long. Through Thursday, they had sold 2,200 head in the 5-area feeding region, and which is nothing. Nothing was established. Nobody did anything. Your feeders were dug in. They thought they'd lost enough ground or given enough of it up. We're getting close to $1, which scares everybody to death, because that just changes the psyche of everybody in the cattle business. Your feeder buyers, your calf buyers, your cow-calf people, everybody. When you get fats under $1, well, we were starting to look like that way. We'd sold a deal here or two as low as 103, and it was looking really tough. But I tell you what, they dug in, your feeders did, and were bound determined not to give up any more ground, even though they knew they should be aggressively selling these things, because we've got a big market-ready supply. We've got big carcasses. They've been a little bit lax clearing those show lists out here the last 3 weeks. They know they needed to sell them, but my gosh, they didn't want to give up any more market position. When that board was up on Thursday, just assumed it'd be off Friday, but then Friday it was up $1.10, and Packers basically just kind of had to give it. And I'm a little surprised that they did, because so many of them had all their needs filled out, 3 weeks or even a month. But they needed enough fill-in cattle there that it kind of set the market. We have no idea how many of them sold, because it was after business hours on Friday, but they did sell cattle from 104 to mostly 105, which that would be fully steady to last week's trade. They were even getting 105 in spots way up west there, where they normally trade $1 or $2 or $3 back, but they had Wyoming cattle at 105. So that's a strong sign there. Didn't see a lot of dress trade, but did see some Nebraska dress trade late Friday as high as 168, and that could be $2 to $3 higher. And like I said, nobody really knows how much volume there was there, but it was enough to set the market, and it is a positive that these cattle feeders finally dug their heels in and just refused to give up any more ground. Box beef cutout values on the average of the weekly trade last week: 192.35 for choice cutouts, up 70. Selects down 18 cents at 190.32, and just about a $2 spread between choice and select. It everybody wants high quality cattle, but when your choice and select cutouts are that tight, that means there's just not a big push for those expensive middle meats that really hinge on the grading, because you get some of those cheaper cuts and those primals that get away from your rib and your loin. It just doesn't really matter what the grade is on those. But we'll have to wait till we get closer to the holiday season before that turns around and your spread gets wider, as people start really pushing on those high cuts, those loin eye logs and everything. But you look at slaughter for last week. Of course, it was a holiday week. Everything was shut down on Monday, and they had a light Saturday before that. But through the week there last week, 555,000. Of course, it was off of the previous week, which was non-holiday, but compared to the same holiday week a year ago, was up 36,000, and had a big Saturday this past Saturday. Had a real light Saturday on Labor Day weekend there, but this past Saturday, 86,000 head, and that gives us a good start to start kicking into some more big weeks, as these packers have been selling a lot of that meat out the back door. They finally got those cutout values low enough that your buyers come in and started doing a lot of purchasing, and a lot of out front purchasing too. So that could help us get back into some currentness that we haven't been selling aggressively enough here the last few weeks. Big important thing on the exports. Last week had the first shipment of U.S. beef to China that came by sea. So we could get, if we can keep the regularity up with that, we could increase the volume of our beef going to China, which is an important thing. We want to keep that going. But a lot of storms going on. Of course, we all know about the hurricane that's affecting Florida, and down there north of the Everglades and Florida Keys. There's a lot of cattle in that country. I mean, some big cow herds, and those guys are, there's not going to be as much flooding as there was with Harvey, but still it's going to be a big problem, and we pray for those people there. Not sure how bad it's going to turn out, but take care of yourselves. A lot of people aren't talking about it, but the fires out west and up in Montana are catastrophic. They're just wiping people out, and wiping out a lot of forest land, a lot of pasture land, and there's not a lot of attention being paid to it because we've got all these hurricanes that are hitting all over the place. But the fires are no less destructive. But you look at your cash feeder markets for last week, we had a quiet early week, all your big high volume sales with the exception of a couple of big specials, notably one in Russell, Iowa, and one in Torrington, Wyoming. But your regular traditional big volume Monday sales were all shut down due to Labor Day. And then Tuesday was kind of quiet because people didn't bring a lot of cattle in on Monday. But by the time we got to Wednesday and the board was up good, we saw that your cash feeders were higher, firmed as much as $5 higher on a cash basis in most of your sales late in the week. Your southeastern calves and your calf markets just in general are really kind of uneven. We know there's a lot of calves coming. We've got a lot of good demand and big prospects for wheat grazing in the southern plains, and there's a lot of pasture, in the lower part of the Midwest too. But there's just so many calves out there yet to come. People aren't getting real aggressive buying calves yet. But I tell you, this Monday coming in, including this bluegrass sale I'm at, they're expecting, maybe 3,000 or 4,000 head on this grand opening sale on Monday. But Oklahoma City and Joplin, a lot of your big Monday sales, look for a big charge on those. They could be up as much as $5 or more because they didn't get any of that gain last week. And then we know that the market left the week last week with a lot of support. So we know that we're going to go into a good week, but and that could really kick us off for a good week this coming week. And so your market should be really good on Monday. Look last Friday at some individual quotes. Winter, South Dakota, on Friday at 1:35 in the afternoon, they had a big load of 850-pound steers bring 154, and that's an impressive. That's 8.5, guys, not 800 pounds. But then another just more of a market type quote. Eastern Missouri Commission Company, Bowling Green, Missouri, there on the east side there. You throw a rock to Illinois. They had some mixed kind of colored cattle, some crossbred, some big framey woody cattle, nothing you'd call fancy, but you could put a lot of weight on them, and really kind of clownish looking big yearling steers there. 51 head of them weighed 1018 just after lunch on Friday, bring 131.25. But the better cutoff of them, the black steers from the same consignment there, weighed flat 1,000 pounds there Thursday afternoon, bring 137.25, and that's not too bad. But that's your week's markets here from the Bluegrass Stockyards in Lexington, Kentucky with DV Auction. We'll talk to you next week.